The screen pulsed red. 17 warnings stacked in a column, each one tagged to a different anomaly in the same blood sample. Dr. Marathi stood motionless before the display, her 4 translucent eyelids cycling open-shut open in a pattern she couldn't control. Behind her, the humans sat on the exam table, boots knocking lightly against the base. "So are we good? Because I've got a rice pilaf situation that won't fix itself." Marathi did not turn around. Have you ever looked at something so routine it should have bored you, only to realize you were staring at something that would change the way you see an entire species? Stay with this one. It's worth it. 3 hours earlier, the station cafeteria had smelled like garlic and hot oil, and Lena Voss had been breaking down a crate of synthetic root vegetables with a knife that moved almost too fast to track. The annual screening notice had pinged every datapad on the station at 0600. By midday, 46 crew members had already cycled through the medical bay, and Dr. Marathi's shift had settled into the numb, repetitive cadence of routine diagnostics. Blood pressure, retinal scan, fluid draw. Next, she barely looked up between patients anymore. Number 47 walked in smelling like fried onions. Marathi noted the scars first. Both forearms layered, some old and faded to white, others pink and recent. Tissue damage consistent with repeated thermal exposure. Kitchens, then this gig. Hazard of the kitchens, then this gig. Hazard of the trade. She grinned, and the overhead light caught the chip in her front tooth. Marathi inserted the draw needle. Standard procedure. But the blood that filled the vial was warm, noticeably so, even through the thermal neutral casing. She frowned, checked the vial seal, and set it into the analyzer without comment. Her gaze drifted to the wooden spoon jutting from the pocket of Lena's apron, stained, cracked along the handle. Organic material in a sterile screening bay. She catalogued the sanitation violation internally and said nothing. 20 minutes, right? Lena asked. I told my sous chef I'd be back by the time the stock reduced. Results take as long as they take, Marathi replied, sliding the vial into the centrifuge rack. Lena shrugged and pulled out her datapad, scrolling through what appeared to be a recipe index. The analyzer hummed. Marathi processed the next patient's paperwork while she waited. Ordinary. Everything about this was ordinary. Then the screen changed color. The first flag appeared in amber. Within 4 seconds, it turned red. Then a second flag. A third. Marathi set down her data stylus. By the time she turned fully toward the display, 17 warnings had populated across 9 diagnostic categories. And the system had auto-triggered a secondary deep scan she hadn't requested. White blood cell count, 4,700 per microliter. She ran the number twice. Selvani baseline was 270 per microliter. This reading was over 17 times that. Marathi's eyelids blinked in rapid sequence, all 4 out of sync. She magnified the live sample feed. The cells weren't dormant. They weren't clustered at the wound margins waiting for chemical signals the way Selvani leukocytes did. They were moving. Independently, crossing the plasma field in deliberate vectored paths, changing direction when proximity sensors, chemical receptors she'd never seen behave this way, detected foreign material. One leukocyte locked onto a bacterial cell. It pursued, closed the distance, engulfed it whole. The membrane sealed, the bacterium dissolved inside, and the leukocyte moved on without pause, already scanning for the next target. Stories like this are the reason we do what we do here. Tomorrow's may be even stranger. Marathi pulled her hands away from the console, as if the screen itself were infectious. These aren't defense cells, she said, barely above a whisper. Yulan looked up from the adjacent station, compound eyes narrowing. These are hunters. Yulan crossed the lab in 3 long strides. silver-blue fingers already reaching for the secondary monitor. Marathi transferred the live feed. For 11 seconds, neither of them spoke. Full differential, Marathi said. Ulan's 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 elongated fingers danced across the micro-instrument panel. The breakdown populated line by line, and each line made the last one worse. 5 distinct classes of white blood cell. 5. Selvani blood carried 1, a slow-acting chemical neutralizer that tagged pathogens for gradual dissolution. Lena Voss carried 5 separate weapon systems in a single drop of blood. Neutrophils, the fastest, swarmed infection sites within minutes, arriving in clusters that overwhelmed invaders through sheer numbers. Macrophages moved slower but consumed everything in their path. Dead cells, debris, bacteria, dissolving each target in acid vacuoles and continuing without rest. Lymphocytes split into subcategories that coordinated like a military unit. T cells identified compromised host cells, the cells the body itself had built, and executed them with chemical precision to prevent viral spread. B cells manufactured targeted antibodies, millions of unique configurations, each one engineered to lock onto a specific pathogen the body had encountered before. The database reclassification didn't wait for Marathi's authorization. It triggered automatically the system's own threat protocols, overriding manual input. Species 5.7-Terra. Immune system predatory threat assessment biological. A hum from the ventilation system, then nothing. Dr. Marathi. Ulan's voice was careful. What happens when they get sick? If their blood does this at baseline, what does active infection look like? Marathi turned toward Lena, who was still on the exam table, scrolling through recipes. When you contract a pathogen, Marathi said, keeping her voice clinical. What is your treatment protocol? Lena looked up. Depends. Mostly I drink soup and sleep it off. Clatter. Yulan's scanner hit the floor. Marathi didn't pick it up. Couldn't for a moment, because the idea of a species whose members treated active biological invasion as an inconvenience requiring broth and unconsciousness was so fundamentally incompatible with everything in her training that her hands had simply stopped cooperating. Lena glanced between them. Sorry, is my blood test bad? I feel fine. How do you explain to someone that their body is a war zone and they are winning so completely they never even noticed the war? And now, with those 5 words still hanging in the sterile air of the screening bay, Marathi understood what the 17 flags meant. Not errors, not equipment malfunction. Each one was a different predatory immune function the system had never encountered in any species across 4 galactic databases. The blood of one unremarkable station cook had triggered every biological threat classifier the station possessed, and she was asking about rice. Marathi opened an emergency reclassification file. Her fingers moved through the fields mechanically. Species, designation, immune profile, threat tier. She felt Yulan standing behind her, reading over her shoulder. The other 11, Yulan said quietly. The other humans on the station. Marathi's 4 eyelids blinked in rapid, arrhythmic sequence. A stress response she hadn't experienced since her residency pathology rotation, when she'd first encountered a Cathani hemorrhagic sample and understood viscerally that some biology doesn't play by shared rules. Screen them all, she said, quietly. Yulan nodded once and left without another word. The medical bay emptied slowly after that. Lena hopped off the exam table, asked if she was cleared, and walked out when Marathi managed a stiff nod. The cafeteria shift wouldn't wait. The rice pilaf wouldn't wait. None of it would wait for what Dr. Marathi now understood about the species she'd been serving alongside for 2 years without once checking their blood work with Selvani-calibrated eyes. Gone. The lights in the screening bay dimmed to stand by. Lena's file still glowed on the primary display, 17 red flags scrolling in a slow loop that no one had dismissed. On the counter beside the blood analyzer, resting where Lena had set it down while rolling up her sleeve, sat the wooden spoon. Cracked handle, stained dark from years of use, an organic object in a sterile room, and not a single person on the station's medical staff would touch it. Something about that felt right to Dr. Marathi, though she couldn't have said why. She dimmed the screen, sealed the bay, and left the spoon exactly where it was. If this story got under your skin the way it got under Dr. Marathi's, come back tomorrow. We'll be here, and the next one might be the one you can't stop thinking about.